Himbe Drum Ensemble. Welcome, everyone. Thank you. Good afternoon, and welcome to the beautiful campus of Cabrini University. I'm so honored, and it's a pleasure to see all of you here with us celebrating freedom, celebrating Juneteenth. As you know, the Emancipation Proclamation was signed on January 1st, 1863, and it wasn't until June 19th, 1865, that the enslaved people in Texas realized that they were free. So this raises a question: what does it truly mean to be free? And as we celebrate freedom today, and as we celebrate freedom moving forward, I want all of you to consider, what does freedom mean to you? You know, one of the critiques of the celebration of Juneteenth is that African American people still are not free. And so the question is, free to do what? Free from what? Free to do what? Have access to what? Angela Davis, in her most recent book, said freedom is a constant struggle. So please consider that even though the Emancipation Proclamation was signed in 1863, even though those enslaved people in Texas found out that they were free June 19th, 1865, that we are still in an ongoing struggle for freedom. So at this time, I'm going to begin the program with a libation. A libation comes from the tradition of our West African ancestors. A libation begins first with an acknowledgement of the eldest person in the space to give us permission that it is okay to begin. And so I am going to ask, is there anyone who is 90 years old in the house? Okay. Is there anyone who is 85 or older? This is my mother. She was the one who I thought was going to be the answer, the person who gave us permission, but I just wanted to check. So I'm asking Sister Hazel, is it okay for us to begin? Thank you so much. So I am going to call out the name of our ancestors, and when I do that, I am going to end with, we are because they are. And when I say we are because they are, I'm going to follow that with Ashe. And some of you know what Ashe means. Ashe has multiple meanings. Among those meanings, Ashe is the name of the supreme energy, the divine energy, that life force that has imbued its force, its spirit through all of us. It is also an affirmation that is similar to the words amen or and so it is. And so I will begin. And I also like to introduce, this is Tony Reeves. Tony Reeves is the Cabrini University Director of Campus Ministry, and she will be helping me with the libation. She will be assisting as we, as I give the words for the libation, as I express the intention of the libation. We will be pouring water into the soil. And both soil and water are symbolic representations of life. And so as we say Ashe and we offer the name of our ancestors, we will pour water into the plant. We acknowledge the presence of the Most High God. We acknowledge the memory of our ancestors. We know that they guide us each and every moment, each and every day. And we give them the only thing that they want from us, and that is to be remembered. We acknowledge the presence of the one that anthropologists called African Eve. She lived approximately 200,000 years ago in East Central Africa. She is the first human being to exist. Her DNA is within each and every one of us. Each and every one of us. We are because she was. Ashe. We acknowledge the children of Africa, the children of African Eve, their children and their children's children. Those men and women who left Africa approximately 60,000 years ago because of climate and because of curiosity. They spread across the earth, maintaining their position as the indigenous people of this planet. They settled in Asia, in Europe, and the lands that we call North America, South America, and Central America. As they traveled, their physical appearance changed. It adjusted for the climate, but they maintained their souls. We are because they were. Ashe. We acknowledge the presence of those who stayed in Africa, populating the entire continent, spreading across the land while discovering those resources that have become so important to all of us, so essential for human survival. They developed spiritual systems, science, math, agriculture, art, and masonry. And having those tools and resources stolen and exploited. Human resources taken, resources raped and exploited for centuries. We are because they were. Ashe. We acknowledge the presence of those who were stolen from Africa, kidnapped, sold, and enslaved for their brilliance in metalworking, in agriculture, in military, science, and strength. They were forced to travel miles across lands and the Atlantic Ocean while having no idea their fate. That was one of them. They were dispersed throughout the world to build the new society for the Portuguese, for the Spanish, for the German, for the Dutch, for the French, for the Belgian, and for the British. They were dehumanized and humiliated throughout South, Central, and North America and the surrounding islands for 400 years. But somehow they survived. We are because they were. Ashe. We acknowledge the presence of those who risked their lives to be free. The liberators, like Nat Turner, Denmark Vesey. The statesmen, Frederick Douglass, Harriet Tubman. The Fortin women, Frances Ellen Watkins Harper, St. Josephine Margaret Bakita. We are because they were. Ashe. We acknowledge our ancestors who were emancipated into a world that saw them as soulless, less than human. Some names we know, most names we do not know. And those who were the first to be born free and continued to work for our liberation. The teachers and the activists, W.B. Du Bois, Ida B. Wells Barnett, Booker T. Washington, Anna Julia Cooper, Marcus Garvey, Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, Medgar Evers. We are because they were. Ashe. We acknowledge those who fought for us until just recently, dedicating their entire lives to the work of justice. John Lewis, Elijah Cummings, Joseph Lowry, Harry Belafonte, Jim Brown. Please call out the names of those ancestors you know. Call out their names, please. Ashe, Ashe, Ashe. We acknowledge those whose bodies were in the hands of the system they trusted, but they were betrayed. Breonna Taylor, Ashe. Tyree Nichols, Ashe. Keenan Anderson, Ashe. Dante Wright, Ashe. George Floyd, Ashe. Elijah McClain, Ashe. Philando Castile, Ashe. Freddie Gray, Ashe. Walter Scott, Ashe. Tamir Rice, Ashe. Sandra Bland, Ashe. Mike Brown, Ashe. Eric Gardner, Ashe. Trayvon Martin, Ashe. Sean Bell, Ashe. Oscar Grant, Ashe. Amadou Diallo, Ashe. And Emmett Till, Ashe. 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 We acknowledge the presence of those who were in your direct lineage, those whose legacy lies right at your feet, those whose sacrifices you will never know, but you stand on their shoulders. Please speak their names. Yes, yes, Ashe. And finally, we acknowledge those who are not yet to be, those beautiful ones who are not yet born. We hold the space for their unfolding. And we say collectively, Ashe, 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 and so it is. At this time, Tony Reeves, our Director of Campus Ministry, will offer the opening prayer.
God of all people and of all nations, today we are here to celebrate Juneteenth. This day reminds us of the progress we made. This day also reminds us of the progress we have not made. We celebrate the freedom from slavery in 1865, yet we grieve that we have not correctly reconciled racism in our nation. We have all been created in the image of God. The two greatest commandments call us to love God with all our hearts, our mind, and our soul. Then to love our neighbor as ourselves. God's love for us motivates us to love each other. If we do not love one another, then ultimately we have not experienced God's love. As much as we commemorate and celebrate Juneteenth, we grieve this day. We mourn that so many of our brothers and sisters have not been loved as our neighbors. We mourn that so many of our brothers and sisters have not been treated in the manner in which they should have been. They're treated not the way they were created as human beings in your image. Liberating God, we offer a prayer of thanksgiving and praise for your hearing the cries of the oppressed. Bless your name for giving us the victory and freedom over slavery. We, in gratitude, unite all of our hearts to reflect on where you have brought us from. As we enter this Juneteenth holiday celebration, let us remember all of our ancestors who long to see this day. Let us sing songs of joy and celebration. God, thank you for the freedom we experience. Let us not take for granted at what cost we experience it. May we fill the land with songs of joy and thanksgiving, and remembering your saving grace. Continue to show us your goodness, that we may have the strength to advance your kingdom with humility and grace. Gracious God, we thank you as your beloved children of all races, as the family of God, remembering that when one suffers, we all suffer. And when one rejoices, we all rejoice. And so we rejoice on this day of celebration, affirming our connection with our brothers and sisters. May the good news of the gospel motivate us to love each other. May the ideas of our words match the practices of our lives. May your spirit unite us, guide us. And Lord, after a time of celebrating, give us the strength, the motivation, the fortitude, the courage to continue to fight for social justice, equity, and to dismantle all systems of oppression and supremacy in the hopes that we shall overcome one day. Amen.
Thank you, Ms. Reeves. So I'm not sure I introduced myself. I'm Layla Dunbar, and I am the director of the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. I'm going to give you just a little bit of our agenda today. So, of course, we started with the Tahimbe African Dance and Drum Ensemble. Give them a hand. And then Dr. Antoinette Reeves. And next we'll have Dr. Angela Campbell, who is our Vice President for Mission Ministry and Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. That will follow by a musical selection by the Foundation Singers, who I'm sure that you will really, truly enjoy. And then our keynote address by Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt, and I will come back and introduce her. Then we're going to take about a 20-minute break so you all can get something to eat and see the vendors, followed by Keepers of the Culture, who will be giving you their rendition of Juneteenth through story. And then another musical selection by the Foundation Singers, followed by a beautiful talk by Barbara Bird and Kevin Stroman, both of whom are members of a very close community. In fact, it's right down the street, not too far from Cabrini University, which is a traditional historical enclave that was mostly populated by African American people. And so they're going to talk to you for a while about what Mount Pleasant is and the significance of Mount Pleasant in this neighborhood. Then Meister Kamal will come and give a capoeira demonstration. We'll have another selection by the Foundation Singers, and then Dr. Campbell will close us for the afternoon. This time I'm going to introduce Dr. Angela Campbell. Dr. Angela Campbell is our inaugural Vice President of Mission Ministry and DEIB. She is, I can't say enough about Dr. Campbell and all of what she adds to Cabrini University. But as Cabrini University becomes more culturally, ethnically, and racially diverse, Dr. Campbell has been the visionary to offer the supports that everyone needs here on campus in order to feel as if they belong. And so I am not going to continue to bore you with my voice. I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Campbell so she will speak, and I will be back in a moment. Thank you, Dr. Campbell.
Thank you. Welcome, everyone, to our second annual Juneteenth celebration. Thank you, Ms. Layla Dunbar. Thank you, Tony Reeves, soon to be Dr. Tony Reeves. And thank you, Dr. Ray Ward members of my direct team. I want to thank you all for being here. The theme of freedom brings us here today. The question, what does freedom mean? And Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt is going to deepen our understanding of freedom and how to exemplify freedom and live and walk in it. I wanted to just take a moment to say that freedom is something you have to take for yourself. And many of our ancestors did just that. They weren't waiting for someone else's definition of freedom to be free in their minds, in their hearts, and in their souls. Freedom is something that's given to us by God. And it's something that no one, no man, no woman or child or condition on the earth or in the multiverse can take away from us. Freedom is a state of being free, a state of being present to ourselves, present to one another, imbuing and allowing that eternal, formless energy to flow through and to reside in our being. And from that space, we create and create again. And we are the beautiful ones who were born to move us forward in a new direction. And so I say, welcome to Cabrini University. Enjoy yourselves. Be present to yourself. Be present with one another. Allow that joy and that love to flow through you to one another. We have a few people at some point I'd like to recognize. Not everyone's here yet, so I'm going to come back while you're eating and enjoying the music and give some important shout outs to people that are here who have advanced the African and African American presence on this campus over the years. And so I look forward to coming back and lifting them up so that we can be present to all of the people whose energies and whose lives have advanced our consciousness to dismantle anti-Black racism, all forms of racial oppression, all forms of human oppression. And in the United States, the presence of African descendant people have greatly raised the consciousness of the planet on how to dismantle oppression. So let's be free. Let's celebrate Juneteenth. And thank you so much for being here.
Testing, testing, testing. 1, 2, 3.
Good afternoon, everyone. Good afternoon, everyone. Singers. McDonald. This is Kamar Jordan, and that is Mama Marcy over there, Mama Marcy Francis. And she's going to open up with a song called Funga.
But before I open it up, I want everybody to raise their hands up high. Raise them up, raise them up. Say, I thank you for this day. I am so grateful for this day. I am so grateful for this day. I am light. I am love. Put your hand over your heart. Take a deep breath in. Take a deep breath in. Let it go. Say, ah. Let there be peace. Let there be peace. Let there be peace within me. Breathe in and exhale out. Say, let there be peace in this world today. I want to hear that a little louder. Let there be peace in this world today.
Let there be peace in this world today.
I am love.
I am love.
And for this,
And for this,
I am so grateful.
I am so grateful.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe,
Ashe.
Ashe. Give yourselves a hand. Come on, come on. I would like to introduce you to a West African song, and it's called Funga Alafia. Has anyone ever heard of Funga Alafia? Well, that's good. So you all know what it means. Somebody tell me what it means. We welcome you. Say to your neighbor or beside you, say, I greet you with love and peace. And on the other side or behind you, I greet you with love and peace. And for the people that are coming in, say, I greet you with love and peace.
We greet you with love and peace.
And for this, I'm so grateful.
For this, I'm so grateful.
So now we're going to go to West Africa and say, Funga Alafia,
Funga alafia.
Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe, ashe.
Funga Alafia,
Funga alafia.
Ashe, Ashe.
Ashe, ashe.
Now, when we're doing African songs, it's a call and a response. Can I hear you say yes?
Yes.
All right. I think we're all together now. It's a beautiful family. Thank you. Thank you, Layla, for having us also. I love you. Now, when we sing it, after we sing it, you're going to sing it, yes? Come on, let's get ready. Yeah, clap your hands. Come on, give it to me. Bring the energy up. Send it all over the world right now. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Come on, sing it. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Now you sing it. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia, Ashe, Ashe. Oh, I love myself. Ashe, Ashe. Oh, I love myself. Ashe, Ashe. Come on, sing it. Oh, I love myself. Ashe, Ashe. Oh, I love myself. Ashe, Ashe. Again. Oh, I love myself. Ashe, Ashe. 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 I send peace to the world. Ashe, Ashe. I send peace to the world. Ashe, Ashe. Sing. I send peace to the world. Ashe, Ashe. I send peace to the world. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. Ashe, Ashe. I am the light of the world. Ashe, Ashe. I am the light of the world. Ashe, Ashe. Sing, come on. Sing it out loud. I am the light of the world. Ashe, Ashe. I am the light of the world. Ashe, Ashe. Funga Alafia. Ashe, Ashe. Funga Lafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Lafia, Ashe, Ashe. Funga Lafia, Ashe, Ashe. 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 Ashe, Ashe.
The foundation singers, give them another round of applause. Janet, Marcy, and Mama Kamara. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Funga Lafia, Ashe. So at this moment, I am going to introduce our dynamic speaker, Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt. I heard Dr. Merritt speak, it's been maybe a year and a half ago now. She spoke in the mansion for this beautiful mansion behind us for an event that we had where she inspired African American women and motivated African American based on the words from her book, Sister Power. And I was so taken by that because I had purchased the book Sister Power quite a while ago and had no idea that when I walked into this lecture that I was going to be meeting the author. So Patricia Reed Merritt is an author, an educator. She is a scholar. She's a community activist and a performing artist. She's a distinguished professor of Africana Studies and social work at Stockton University in Galloway, New Jersey. She served as the coordinator of the African American Studies program from 2003 to 2016. She spearheaded the university's annual Fannie Lou Hamer Human and Civil Rights Symposium from 2004 to 2015. She also chaired the National Fannie Lou Hamer Statue Committee in 2012. Dr. Merritt is a well-known scholar. She's a well-known lecturer. She has presented scholarly papers throughout the country and throughout the world. She is the author of many books, not just Sister Power, but also she's the author of Sister Wisdom, 7 Pathways to a Satisfying Life for Soulful Black Women, Righteous Self-Determination, the Black Social Work Movement in America, Race in America, How a Pseudo-Scientific Concept Shaped Human Interaction, Tarnished Legacy, a Reluctant Memoir, A State-by-State History of Race and Racism in the United States, and many others. So if you want the names of those books again, please reach out to me. I want you to go to Amazon and purchase those books. And now we welcome Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt. Thank you.
Habari gani? Jumbo. Hola. Everybody up there, what's happening and what's up? I can't begin to tell you how thrilled I am to be standing here on this campus for this Juneteenth celebration. And I have to remind myself, I have my daughter down there to wave her hand when I'm talking too long, because it would take me such a long time to provide you with all the information and all the experiences I've had related to not just Cabrini University, but to an overall celebration of freedom, pursuit of social justice, all the things that have been so important and critical to me, for all of my adult years. I am an alum of Cabrini University. I arrived, I arrived on this campus in 1969. And anybody who is as old as I am know it had to be a moment of cultural shock. Because in 1969, we were in the midst coming to the end of the civil rights and the Black Power movements. Cabrini literally recruited me off the stage. As they indicated, I'm a performer, which is why I got those drummers backing me up over there. I was dancing in a show called Wake Up Man and Live. Someone came to Cabrini's campus and they said, you got a nice little white university out here. And they said, no, it's not all white. We got one black student. And they said, you know, this is a white university. And at the time, the dean was named Mother Barbara. And she decided we have to find some black girls. And we came out here to dance. Daniel Perner was our director. We came out here dancing, and Mother Barbara walked up and said, you want to come to this college? It was Cabrini College then. Do you want to come to this college? And I said, yes. But honestly, I didn't even know what a college was because I'm from West Philadelphia. And I was raised in that, segregated, school system in West Philadelphia. I went to John Bartram High, which was somewhat integrated, but they had people separated on the right and separated on the left. When I went to high school, I arrived. My mother had 9 kids. They said, this girl is bright. They said, it doesn't matter. She needs a job. And so I was placed in commercial clerical. And so I had no idea what college was about. But Cabrini offered me an opportunity, and that's part of what we're celebrating when we say we want to celebrate freedom. You have to provide people with the opportunity to develop to their fullest potential. And that's what happened in 1969 when I arrived on this campus. But again, cultural shock. I arrived with 8 other black students. Only 2 of us survived and were able to graduate. It was a difficult time to be anywhere as a young, poor black person. Cabrini offered me somewhat a safe haven. But because I was here and isolated and in cultural shock, I challenged everything that went on here, everything that happened. I remember being a student in one of the classes, and the professor was talking about America's class structure, the difference between the middle class, the upper class, and the lower classes. And I got up and raised my hand. I said, that doesn't apply to us. Everybody looked at me like, have you lost your mind? And I said, black people are different. I walked up, took the chalk from them, and started drawing something about the black community, something I had read the night before, but I thought, I know more about this, than you do. And that's how I spent my life here, challenging. When I came back for the 10th or 20th reunion, one of my former classmates said, we swore you were going to bring the revolution right on campus because all you did was talk about, the fight for freedom, equality. And at that time, I thought I was going to bring the revolution here too. But, 2 of us wasn't enough. I didn't have enough critical mass. But I remember thinking from that moment on, from the beginning of my Cabrini experience until today, how informed I've been about the black struggle, how important it was for me to understand the black struggle. So I don't know about you, but I was absolutely caught off guard 2 years ago when Biden signed the proclamation saying that Juneteenth is going to be a federal holiday. I'm like, wait a minute. I'm an informed black person. I know about this stuff. How could this happen and I didn't know about it? But of course, the struggle to make Juneteenth a national holiday had been going on for a very long time. The celebrations had been going on forever in Texas and other parts of the South, and especially places where people from Texas eventually moved, and they talked about Juneteenth. We knew something about Juneteenth, but we didn't celebrate it in a national kind of way. And so I was stunned. And because I was stunned, I said, how could I not know this was coming down the pike? How could I not know? But once it happened, I had to feel like this is a statement about America's history and acknowledging the history in America and recognizing that the fight for freedom is ongoing. And that's where we are. The fight for freedom is ongoing. Now, one of the things I have to say is thank God we're all here in Pennsylvania and we're from New Jersey. Because if I were in Florida, we would not be having this conversation. And so you have to begin to appreciate how important it is that the nation can say we have to acknowledge our history, a history that's related to race, a history that's related to racism, a history that's related to oppression, a history that's related to the struggle for freedom. We have to acknowledge, that is real, that is happening, that is history. But what we know and what we're experiencing now is the extent to which so many forces are working against sharing that history, that information, that knowledge with the current generation. And so we're in a period now where not only people and legislatures are talking about you will not talk about race. And Layla says she's with the Department of Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion. Well, Texas just said no more of that on college campuses. We won't have any of that on college campuses. We are being threatened. When I say we, I don't mean us black folks. I mean us Americans. We are being threatened. When you're in a situation in New Jersey where someone decides to ban a book by Toni Morrison, we're having a problem. We're having a serious, serious problem. And what is important is that it's not just for us, those who are a member of the African descendant community, or those of us who feel we are targeting oppression. It's not just for us to speak out. It's for everybody to speak out. If you believe in democracy, if you believe in freedom, if you believe in equality, you have to speak out. You can't be silent about what's going on and what's happening around you. And so on the first celebration of Juneteenth, I was called by a large legal firm, and they said, we'd like you to speak to our first celebration of Juneteenth. And I said, well, what's the question? They said, what does Juneteenth mean to you? I said, I like that. I can work with that. Because when I heard what does Juneteenth mean to you, I thought, as we all have, been marked by the words of Frederick Douglass more than 170 years ago. Frederick Douglass in 1852 made his impassioned speech about what does July 4th means to the slave. Frederick Douglass laid the nation out. Said you can't talk about freedom. You can't talk about social justice. You can't talk about liberty. It's a sham. Because look what you're doing to the enslaved population here. You can't speak to us about freedom, which is why he only spoke on July 5th. He didn't speak on July 4th. And one of the things that you have to understand about the celebration of Juneteenth, just like on Martin Luther King Day, everywhere you go, someone will say, I have a dream. They'll tell you about the speech. Now, Juneteenth, everywhere you go, someone's going to cite Frederick Douglass. They're going to say, you have to understand where it started. And some of the things that we know about Juneteenth are not really quite accurate. I love the way everybody is saying the Emancipation Proclamation freed the slaves. Y'all know that's not true. You know it's not true. When the Emancipation Proclamation was issued in 1863, what the document said is that you are a free person if you're in an enslaved state. But if you got your people up here in Delaware or somewhere in the Union, you can keep your enslaved people. The truth of the matter is the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free anybody because at the time the Confederacy had separated from the Union. And so there was no power to enforce it. But when I went to school, they told me Lincoln was the great emancipator. They told me Lincoln freed the slave. I was way into my college career before somebody pointed out, that's not right. So what is correct is that in 1865, it is correct, somewhere around Juneteenth, the Union marched into Galveston, Texas, and said, you all are free. And that did mark sort of the last group of enslaved African Americans to find out that there was a proclamation issued. But the more important point at that time is that the war was over. The war was over. And it was the 13th Amendment that eventually freed all enslaved people. And so one of the things, there are three things we need to know about Juneteenth. One of the things is we have to focus on the history. We cannot start celebrating, eating barbecue and doing all that stuff without understanding the history. Why are we celebrating Juneteenth? And yes, part of that reason for that celebration has everything to do with understanding that this was the moment when people finally realized that they had been freed. And we need to remember that. And we need to teach the next generation about that, about what that means and why it's important. And so that's one important aspect of it. But the second most important aspect of it is understanding what has been accomplished since that first celebration of Juneteenth, since that first moment when people were informed, there's a great deal of freedom out there, but you have to work to obtain it. What has been accomplished? So the second thing about celebrating Juneteenth, and as they said to me, what does Juneteenth mean to you? It means understanding the resiliency of African descended people. It means understanding what they've been through from 1865 until the present. It means, yes, you must acknowledge the difficulty that we experience. If you look at the hope that happened during Reconstruction, the thought, the possibility that we could rise ourselves up and be equal citizens in the United States, there was a moment of promise, but only lasted 12 years. And then it was over. And then you have to look at the progressive era where they said we're going to do things to advance all of humanity, all the people in the United States into the 20th century. And then that sort of didn't happen. You have to look at and understand the rise of terrorism in America with organizations like the Ku Klux Klan. They talk about terrorism now as if we weren't familiar with it for 100 plus years, And so what we do understand is that we've been struggling. There's been a fight, for freedom. There's been a fight for social justice. We do understand that. We do understand that there was a tremendous period in our history, our recent history, that they called the Civil Rights and Black Power movement, and that people were able to engage the country in a discussion and in a debate about what else do we need to do to make sure we can guarantee all these freedoms for people of African descent. We need to recognize that. And all of us here have experienced what has happened during the aftermath of the George Floyd incident. 2 years ago, half of you probably were in the street protesting. The problem with that is that it happened during the summer of 20, and by the summer of 21, people had moved on to something else. We are still actively engaged in that battle, and we must be fully engaged in the fight for freedom again for all. Another important thing about understanding resiliency is what we brought to this country, what we did as a community. Layla indicated earlier that, look at the people who struggle to uplift us. I can't help but think of the people who were the educators, Mary McLeod Bethune, who were the great thinkers, W.E.B. Du Bois, who were the people who gave us song, the Sarah Vaughns of the world, the great musicians, the jazz people, the Nat King Coles of the world, the Temptations, that gave us the kinds of songs that lifted our spirits and said to us, look, we have a contribution to make, and it's a powerful contribution. And then I think of the many writers, the literary scholars, the poets who added something, who gave us something to think about and gave us words that said, you need to continue to struggle, and it's important that you understand the significance of who we are as a people. And for that, I turn to Alice Walker, because what Alice Walker did was able to tell me what we needed to do for my people. And for my people, she said, singing their slave songs repeatedly, their dirges, their ditties, and their blues and jubilees, praying their prayers nightly to an unknown God, bending their knees humbly to an unseen power. For my people, lending their strength to the years, to the gone years and the noun years and the maybe years, washing, ironing, cooking, scrubbing, sewing, mending, dragging, hoeing, plowing along, never gaining, never reaping, never knowing, and never understanding. For my playmates in the clay and dust sands of Alabama and Georgia and North Carolina and South Carolina, playing, baptizing, preaching in doctor, jail, and soldier in school, and mama and cooking, and playhouse and concert, and store and hair with Miss Chubby and company. For the cramped, bewildered years, we went to school to learn, to know the reasons why, and the answers to, and the people who, and the places where, and the days when, in memory of the bitter hours when we discovered we were black and poor and small and different, and nobody cared, and nobody wondered, and nobody understood. For the boys and girls, that's the spirit there. For the boys and girls who grew in spite of these things to become man and woman, to laugh and dance and sing and play and drink their wine, their religion, their success, to marry their playmates and bear children, but then died of consumption, amnesia, and even lynching. For my people thronging 47 streets in Chicago Lenox Avenue in New York, Broad Street in South Philadelphia, Rampart Street in New Orleans, the lost, disinherited, dispossessed, happy people filling cabarets and taverns, other people's pockets, needing bread and shoes and milk and land and money and something, anything, just to be called my own. For my people walking blindly, spreading joy, or losing time being lazy, sleeping when hungry, shouting when burdened, drinking when hopeless, tied and shackled and tangled among ourselves by unseen creatures who tower over us and laugh. And for my people, blundering and groping and floundering in the dark of churches and schools and clubs and societies, associations and councils, and committees and conventions, distressed and disturbed and deceived and devoured by money-hungry, glory-caving leeches, preyed on by facile forces of state and fed by novelty, my false prophet, and any holy believer. And for my people, standing, trying to fashion a better way from confusion, from hypocrisy, and misunderstanding, trying to fashion a world that will hold all the people, all the faces, all the Adams, all the Eves, and all the children of all generations. Let a new earth rise. Let another world be born. Let a bloody peace be written in the sky. Let a second generation full of courage issue forth. Let a people loving freedom come to growth. Let a beauty fuel of healing and strength of final clinching be the pulsing in our spirits and our blood. Let the martial songs be written. Let the dirges disappear. Let a race of men and women now rise and take control. If you ask me what Juneteenth means to me, that's what it means to me. It's the opportunity for all of our people and for my people to be able to rise and take control of their own destiny, to be able to participate fully in all the benefits of American society, to be able to walk freely, to drive freely, and not stopped or questioned or harmed by the fact that the only offense that they have occurred is being born in a black skin. And so I think it's important when we say we're going to celebrate Juneteenth. And yes, we're going to have music. We're going to have dancers. We're going to have drummers. We're going to have storytellers. We're going to have poems. We're going to have barbecue and all of that. Let's remember why we're here. Let's remember. Let's not forget. Let's make certain that we pass these memories on to our children. Let's make certain that Juneteenth is a holiday where we discuss with everybody what freedom really still means in America. And so I leave you with this, because the other great person that I really come to admire, whose words inspired me, were those of Maya Angelou. And Maya Angelou said, look, no matter what you do to us, still, I'm going to rise. That's what she said. She said, among other things, we're going to be in a position where somehow or another, regardless of what you do to me, regardless the harm you try to bring to me, I'm going to be in a position where I'm going to fight all obstacles. I'm going to let nothing stand in my way. But I'm going to be in a position where I say to you, and still I rise. And so, Maya Angelou's words when she said, and still I rise, she wanted to know that I'm leaving behind all the nights of terror and fear, and I will rise. And I break into the daylight, wondrously clear, and I will rise. I'm bringing the gifts of my ancestors that they gave. I am the dream and the hopes of the slaves. I rise, I rise, I rise.
Thank you, thank you, thank you, Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt. Give her another round of applause. Thank you. Dr. Merritt, among other things, was the founding president of the Black Student Union here at Cabrini University. And so this organization continues now, and some of the students are here. So thank you so much. Very inspiring. At this moment, we're going to give you an opportunity to get something to eat, to look at what our vendors have, what our vendors are selling, and we're also offering a tour of our campus. we have specifically we have an African American tour of our campus as well as a more mainstream tour of our campus. So if you go over to the registration table or if you find one of our volunteers, they will guide you towards where the tour is and where you may be able to complete our scavenger hunt. So thank you again, Dr. Reed Merritt. Thank you to the foundation singers and everyone who has spoken already. Thank you. See you in a half hour. Testing. Okay, everyone. I'm so happy to see that you all are enjoying yourselves on this beautiful day. I'm trusting that some of you got the opportunity to take the tour of the campus and actually maybe win a prize because you completed our scavenger hunt. That will be ongoing. At this time, we're going to resume our program. We're getting started the second half of the program with the Keepers of the Culture. Many of you know Keepers of the Culture. They are a storytelling group that have existed in this area for quite some time. I remember 30 years. I remember as a teenager going to, I think it was a Kwanzaa event, and Keepers of Culture were there. So at this time, I'm going to turn it over to Keepers of the Culture. And after Keepers of the Culture, we're going to hear another musical performance by the Foundation Singers. Thank you.
Jumbo, everybody. When I say jumbo, you say see jumbo. Jumbo. Can't hear you. Jumbo. Jumbo. That means what's happening? How are you? I'm so glad you're here, and I'm so glad to be here. We are from Keepers of the Culture. That's Philadelphia's Afrocentric storytelling group. We tell all kinds of stories. Today we're going to bring you some tales that are related to freedom. We always have the tradition, and I'm going to teach you a new word today too, of seeing the oldest person like we did here to give permission. Well, I'm the oldest person on the stage. And I give you permission to speak. This is Brother Nasheed, and he's coming to you with a story.
Jumbo, see Jumbo. My name is Nasheed Ali, and I'm the storyteller for peace. Pop, pop, grow something. And the reason why I blew this is because my grandfather taught me everything I know. I learned from my grandfather. I learned about stories from my grandfather. I learned how to play the juice harp. That's what he called it, a juice harp. This harmonica from my grandfather. My grandfather, his name will always be Pop Pop Grow Something. So I took on his name because that's how we learn. We learn from our parents, and we learn from our grandparents and the grandparents before them, the great-grandparents and great-great-grandparents. So every day, and especially Sundays at 6 o'clock on WURD, Pop Pop Grow Something would tell the village stories. And I think I remember when Pop Pop Grow Something, he was telling us stories about liberation. And as Mama Irma said, about freedom. He would tell us liberation stories and freedom stories. And I would listen very carefully. And this story that he told us, and I remember this story because it was a deep story. He said a long, long time ago, when the animals could talk, and the animals and the men and the women, the animals and the human beings were just one on this planet. He said there was a particular village of turtles. And these turtles, they mind their own business. He said that's why they had a shell. Because they didn't look to the left or to look to the right. They woke up in the morning, they gave thanks to the Most High, they gave thanks to the Creator, and they went about their work. But if you remember, there was a storyteller named Aesop. Aesop used to tell tales about animals who could talk, and men and women who would talk to the animals. And you remember about the tortoise and the hare. The tortoise is the turtle and the hare is the rabbit. But in ancient days, tortoise lived to be over 1,000 years old. The tortoise was about his business, but the hare, the rabbit, was always trying to outmaneuver the tortoise. They had a race, and he thought he could win. But the tortoise, like I said, had that shell. He minded his business. He kept his head straight up in the air, and he won because he didn't stop until he won. He didn't stop until he finished. And the hare stopped. Took a rest because he thought he could beat him because he was so slow. So after that, the hares were always trying to get the tortoise, always trying to capture him. So what happened was they did that. At night, they came in and they swept up a lot of tortoises, a lot of turtles, so many turtles. They took them while they were asleep. They took like half the population and they took them to another place so that they could work. They could work for the hares. They said, we got you now. We got you good. And you're going to work for us. So they took them over there because they were strong. They could put things on their back. And they wanted to build a land. And they said, well, the turtle was the best animal for this. His back is strong, and we can see him because he's green. He doesn't blend in with us, and he's different. He's low to the ground, and he moves slow. And if he ran away, we could get him. The turtle wasn't going for it because inside that shell was the turtle's heart. And that turtle's heartbeat was in rhythm with the heartbeat of the earth. That turtle's heartbeat could be heard in each and every one. So each and every one had that same heartbeat. So they said, no, you might enslave us physically, but you won't enslave us mentally. You will not enslave us spiritually because we were born before you. We were born before 1619. We were born before 1863. We were here before 1865. So you will never enslave us. And they tried to. They renamed them. You know, they had names like Fudegazi. Fudegazi is great grandfather turtle. They tried to name him Tom and Sammy, and they wasn't going for it. So as they were working, the tortoise, one day, a proclamation came down, a piece of paper, and it was written by the rabbit. And the rabbit said, on this day, we will free all the turtles. You are free. No, they said, no, we've been free. Ain't no paper will free us because our spirit is free. So all of the rabbits, they had to abide by that proclamation. But the turtle said, no, we've been free. So what happened was, in an island, they called it Turtle Island. There was a lot of turtles there, and they didn't get the word. The word came out one day, and 2.5 years later, they got the word. They were free. So they came down with a piece of paper again, saying that we made you, we captured you, and now we gonna free you. But no, they was operating like they was free all the time. They was building stuff. They was doing for self. Everything that they had, the turtles built. They said, no paper will free us. That doesn't mean a thing to us because we were free when we were born, and the day that we die, we'll still be free. So I told you about Futugazi. Futugazi was the great-grandfather turtle. Turtles live to be 1,000 years old. So in about 100 years, people come down researching, students from the college come down researching, and they looking for Futugazi, the turtle. They said, Futugazi, tell us the secret of your success. How did you maintain yourself through all of those years of enslavement by the rabbit? Futugazi said, this is what we did. We kept our head high, and we let all of the troubles roll off our back. And we always kept in our minds, in our hearts, that we were free before the rabbit, and we'll be free after the rabbit leaves. So I tell you, in this spirit of Juneteenth, we were always free. We were always and will always be free as long as we keep that spirit of liberty and freedom in our hearts and in our minds. Mama Irma.
We can learn a lot from animals. My name is Mama Irma, and I'm always telling fables and animal stories, and one of my favorite characters to talk about is Anansi. Now, you've probably heard of Anansi before. Lots of people call him the trickster. He's the keeper of all the stories. He likes to play pranks on his friends and his neighbors. Then he wants to get over on things and on people. But you didn't know there was another side to Anansi. Anansi lived in a village where he was a community activist. He actually did things in the community, and he was well respected. Now, he had 6 sons, and they worked in the community too, because they all had different talents. Just like we in this community have different talents. Maybe we haven't discovered them yet, but we all have a talent to use. Now, his sons' names identified what talent they had. Well, he had one son, his name was See All, so he saw everything. He had another son, Road Maker. Now that's an odd name too. I wouldn't want somebody to be calling me Road Maker, but that was his name. Then he had a son called River Drinker. River Drinker. Then he had another son called Magic Word. Yeah. And the son before him, I think I left him out, he was called Fish Cutter. I try to leave him out because I think about cutting fish. Yeah. He was number 5 actually, and number 6 was Magic Word. And the other son was called Cushion. We always need a cushion. Well, Anansi had a lot of different talents. He liked to cook too. So this one day he had to go into town. He wanted to buy something in town. He wanted a new cook pot. You see, he had been to this favorite restaurant of his, a vegan restaurant, and you've probably been to it before. And he loved that soup that they made. They made a black bean savory soup that would make you smack your mama. Well, he wanted to make that soup at home. So he studied it, and he wanted to make it just like they made it, and he wanted to make it in a pot just like they had. So the soup would be good, like his favorite vegan restaurant. Well, one day he got up and he said, sons, I'm going to leave you now. I want you to be good while I'm gone. I'm going to get that new cook pot. And they said, okay, Dad, and they waved him off. And, you know, his sons were very energetic. While he was gone, they were racing. They were climbing trees. They were practicing capoeira. They were doing all kinds of things. Seems like their energy was endless. They just had so much energy. I guess it's the good food that they ate and the air that was around, because during that time, the days were bright, the nights were a little dim, but it was a different time when they lived. Well, hours passed, and the sons were being energetic and happy and playing, and all of a sudden, there was a big call from Seall. Watch me, everybody. Come around. I just saw Dad's been swallowed up by the river. He went too close, and he fell in the river, and a big fish ate him. Follow me. We've got to save Dad. We got to free him. We got to free him right now. So they all gathered around, and road builder started building a silky, spidery road. It was all the way to the river, and they climbed up and down and under and around until they got to that river. When they got to that river, they didn't see no big fish. So, river swallower, river drinker, he said, watch me. And he got up there, opened his big mouth, and stooped down low and sucked up all of the water from the river. I mean, his stomach was dragging. But when the water was gone, the fish was visible. He was just laying there flopping around and grasping for air. He didn't know what had happened because it happened so quick. And all of a sudden, fish cutter came down, opened that big fish, and out jumped a Nazi. He was so happy to see his son. They had rescued him. And so he got up, and the first thing he wanted to do was hug his son. Do you want to hug your children? So he was getting ready to hug his child, and down came this hawk, this big hawk with a wide wingspan and a big beak. He took that beak and hooked it under a Nazi, and up and away a Nazi went. Up, up, up. Baba, 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 Baba. Baba was gone up in the sky. He was gone. The magic word came out. He had something for him. Came out. He took his little legs, all of them, rubbed them all together, got that friction in his legs, jumped up, and said a magic word. He said, Namu. If you ever heard that word, it's a West African word, and it means so it is. And I agree. So he was agreeing in his spirit that he was going to affect this bird. You don't know what effect our words have on anybody that we're around. So we have to be careful what we say. So these were strong words that he had uttered. It put the bird under like a deep spell. The bird kept feeling sleepy. And when you're sleepy, you yawn. He yawned, and a Nazi fell down to the ground. He almost hit a rocky place. But Cushion came over, and he lay right where a Nazi was going to be. And a Nazi just bounced down with ease. He knew that he could count on his children. Well, they were all so happy. They were walking home, and a Nazi was saying, oh, you saved me not once today, but twice. You deserve a reward. But he didn't know what he could give him. That night, a Nazi cooked in his regular old pot, same old bean, because he had lost that pot. And he came out looking in the backyard and thinking, what could I reward my sons with? And he happened to look up, and he saw this ebony tree. And behind the tree was this glowing ball of light. He said, oh, that would be a good reward, but I only have one. Let me see who I'll give it to. So he called his children back again, and he said, tell me what talent you use again. And so the first boy said, well, I was the one that saw it. You have to have a vision before you see anything, even if it's trouble. So that's important. You had the vision. And the second son said, well, I led him to the river. I built the road. Well, yeah, you have to have a leader. Strong leaders lead us into freedom and all kinds of stuff. And one said, well, I made the fish visible. Got to have something in vision. You can't fight in the dark. You got to see something. He sucked all that water up, you know. And the son that had the magic words said, I spoke to him. I spoke my truth. And the bird opened his mouth. When you speak your truth, you can get somebody's mouth open before they know it. And the truth will come out. You keep saying your words and the truth will come out. And cushion, always have to have a cushion to back you up. Even if you think you're not going to fall, you have that cushion there anyway. Think ahead and have the cushion. Well, sir, he couldn't decide. So he looked up and he said, Sky God, do you think it would be okay if I rewarded my sons with this ball of light? Could they all have it? Right away, Sky God swooped down, took that ball, tap, 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 placed it in the sky. That ball of light is still there. It's shining light on everything that we do. It's sharing the light with not only Anansi's son, but all of us. We can take a lesson from Anansi's son. You can take the Kwanzaa word, Ujima. You know, they worked together. You know, they were cooperative, working together and building. So we can take the same lessons from them. Use all of your talents. Bring your talents into the light so that we may use them to build a better community. Keep on building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Brother Nasheed Ali and Sister Irma. Thank you so much, Keepers of the Culture. Thank you for that beautiful storytelling experience. At this time, we're going to get another selection from the Foundation Singers. Thank you.
How many of you are familiar with the group Sweet Honey in the Rock? Yeah, we're big fans. We do a lot of their work and the original pieces too. But this is a song that definitely speaks to this occasion. And when we were pouring libations, it struck me again how important it is to remember and to believe. I don't know how my mother walked her trouble down, I don't know how my father stood his ground. I don't know how my people survived slavery. I do remember, that's why I believe. I don't know how the rivers overflow their banks. I don't know why the snow falls and covers the ground. I don't know why the hurricane sweeps through the land every now and then. Standing in a rainstorm, I believe. I don't know how the angels woke me up this morning too. I don't know why the blood still runs through my veins. I don't know how I rate to run another day. I am here still running 'cause I believe. Everybody hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate. Hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate. If you know it, join us. Oh, oh. Hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate. Hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate. Well, my God calls to me in the morning dew. The power of the universe knows my name. Gave me a song to sing and set me on my way. I raise my voice for justice 'cause I believe. Everybody hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey, 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 hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey. Oh, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey, 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 hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey. Let's take it out now. Hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey, 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 hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey. Oh, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey, 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 hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hate 'em, hey. And with that, we thank you. We'll be back.
Thank you so much. Oh, I see some more family here. So nice to see you. Thank you to the foundation singers again. Give them another round of applause. Okay, so at this time, we are going to hear from Barbara Bird and Kevin Stroman. Kevin, I don't see you. I know he's here. Oh, there he is. Barbara Bird and Kevin Stroman. Barbara Bird is a member of the Mount Pleasant community. Mount Pleasant is an enclave of African American people who have lived in this area since the turn of the 19th century. And so there are many people who still live in that community. It's really a stronghold in this community. And so Cabrini works with the community, and I happen to be friends with a couple of people who attend my church who grew up in Mount Pleasant, Donna Brown and Deborah Ford, who are visiting us today. So I want to turn the mic over to Miss Barbara Bird. Thank you.
I give honor to God, first of all, for waking me up this morning and for such a beautiful, awesome day. And I'd like to thank Miss Layla Dunbar for inviting me to this incredible event. This is the first time we met. As she said, I grew up in a small community named Mount Pleasant, which is less than a mile straight down from Cabrini on Upper Gulf Road, that direction. The early history of Mount Pleasant starts like this. The community of Mount Pleasant consists of 3 streets: Mount Pleasant Avenue, Henry Avenue, Fairview Avenue, and crosses with Upper Gulf Road to the light all the way down to Radnor Road. The earliest information recorded about the history of Mount Pleasant actually dates back to 1804, when a white settler came here with the name, his name was James Carr, and he built the first home. The Mount Pleasant Village, which was later referred to as Carr Hill and then just plain Mount Pleasant, attracted people who thought this territory was prime for mining. Mr. Carr's sons were among ones that dug for ore, and even though some specimens were found, it wasn't enough to pay for their labor. We discovered a new tombstone actually a few years ago to kind of back up the fact that there was a James Carr, and it's on Upper Gulf Road next to the barbershop, and there actually was a James Carr. However, the date on it kind of indicates that it could have been a grandson. After mining didn't work out for Mr. Carr's family, their primary occupation became agriculture, and soon farms sprung up all over this area. At one point, a gentleman by the name of John Henry owned much of Mount Pleasant. Around 1833, residents saw a need for a school, so funds were donated to the land, and purchased to actually build a private school, which was called the Carr School, which still stands on Henry Avenue, and you hear more about that later. The backyard served as the playground, but actually that's where the cemetery on Upper Gulf is today. And this building is still used for tutoring and public and civic meetings. In 1867, there was a need for a second school, and that was built on Valley View Road. And then in 1907, a third school was built in Mount Pleasant to accommodate the growing population. That school was built next to the First Baptist Church in 1902. And even though Tredyffrin Township adopted the public school system in 1854, this particular school was not occupied until later on in the early 1900s. The Mount Pleasant School started out as an integrated school, but when a new superintendent came up from the South, the school was actually segregated. Only African Americans could go to that school. During this segregation, when all of this was going on, there were some white families in the neighborhood that actually helped us out. Some like Cromers and the Baghorns and Suplees and the Hobsons. Others like Drexel Paul would not sell directly to us. So people like Mrs. Windermere purchased properties and sold it to blacks in the community so they could build homes and schools. Now, the black children at the Mount Pleasant School had to wait until the students at the white school at Stratford Elementary had their lunch, and then Mr. Buff Cannon, who I'm so glad, Caden, I'm so glad I had the opportunity to meet him, a wonderful person. He would pack up, all of their leftovers, and as he was the janitor there, he would, tell him he was going to make a delivery, and he would bring the food up to the black students. That same building was later converted into a manufacturing plant for insulation. The company was called Hungerford Industries. And then in the early 2000s, the building underwent a major renovation, and it is currently a beautiful office building. But little did we know back in the 50s and 60s that that big stone building that all of the children got up on the roof and stood there when it was raining to wait for the bus, that was actually a segregated school. The Italian immigrants in the area were discriminated against as well. And I just found this out last week. Italian immigrants were not permitted to attend to a different school district either. So black and Italian students formed great friendships as they walked miles from Devon and Berwyn to Mount Pleasant, to even the Mount Pleasant School or the Howellville School, wherever it was. The Berwyn fight, as it was so named, was explained a couple of months ago at an event at Conestoga High School. It occurred from 1932 to 1934. Mrs. Esther Long, who's 98 years old, was honored because she's one of the last living students that was assigned to that segregated school. However, the parents boycotted the school for 2 years. The fathers were locked up for truancy. The NAACP and law firms and parents all marched in Philadelphia demanding desegregation and equal rights for all children. Right next door to this school in 1932, the new building for the First Baptist Church was built as a branch of the Second Baptist Church of Wayne. It is believed that families like the McLeans and Holidays and Baghorns and Cherricks and others, helped to finance this building. The First Baptist Church reached out to the community in many ways, encouraging the community to not only fellowship with one of those churches, but also participate in picnics and other events. Now, around that same time, on the opposite end of Mount Pleasant, up on Upper Gulf, the Hobson family, a white family, built a 2-story building which was occupied as a small grocery and dry goods store. Today, that is the barber shop. But we had the pleasure of meeting Mr. Hobson, the third generation down, who is 87, who told us his story. That was his uncle's store, and he brought lots of pictures to back that up. At the top of Henry Avenue, a well-to-do black man by the name of Mr. Jose Reed owned the bar. The date of purchase is not known, at least I couldn't find it in the records, but people came from all around to hear the live bands on Saturday nights, and he also owned property as well. Around 1949, the residents began raising funds to build a recreational center and playground behind the church. And this was to benefit all the people in the neighborhood and surrounding areas. This recreational facility would provide additional activities and programs for children and adults in the community. The building finally opened in 1955. While the mainline YMCA handled the finances until it was built, the recreation center was self-supporting. Activities that were fun, such as afternoon teas, barbecues, ball games, after-school programs, dances, and fairs and parties, they maintained the property. An annual flower show and 6-week summer vacation Bible school was started by Ms. Hall. The township currently leases that property, and because the building needed to be demolished, they turned it into a beautiful public park. Ms. Hall was an outstanding member of the community who, by profession, was a school teacher. She was one of the first African American teachers in this area. She had to teach in Camden, New Jersey, however, because she wasn't allowed at that time to teach in Pennsylvania. But a few years ago, at one of my students' breakfasts, I invited Mrs. Patricia Holliday Jackson to speak. We discovered that her mother, Mrs. Lillian Holliday, was actually the first black teacher in the neighborhood. She taught in the Coatesville School District, and she graduated from Westchester University in 1914, quite a few years actually, before Miss Hall. She's here today. Wave your hand. 90 years old. Beautiful. Amen. Amen. 92. Wow. Wow. You don't look a day over 39.99. As the first settlers moved out, their descendants leased properties to hardworking individuals. So gradually, this community became self-sufficient, providing food, groceries, services, education, religion, and entertainment for everyone. Their hardworking people took in laundry, did ironing, worked as maids and butlers, chauffeurs, cooks for the wealthy people in the area. So the houses were built first, even before there was a road. So the roads weren't paved yet. And so if you go through the neighborhood, you'll see that the houses are very close to the streets because there was no road at that time. So the community consisted of hardworking people. As I said, some were domestic workers, blue-collar workers, tradesmen, painters, plumbers, iron workers, auto workers, farmers, professionals, and even small business owners. In 1913, the Redmond family on Upper Gulf Road opened a taxi business. For 25 cents, people that used to walk to and from work or school were able to ride. Eventually, families were able to buy existing properties or even vacant land and build their own homes. Mount Pleasant thrived. Many businesses opened up, and even in that time, that was just unheard of. We had our own diner, ice cream shop, a hauling business, the Dean's Bakery. Pam Dean's is here today. There was just a sense of cohesiveness within the neighborhood. But more than that, the families genuinely cared and supported one another. People felt safe day and night. If it was a place where you could have a block party, family barbecues were open to anyone, regardless of whether they lived in the neighborhood or not. According to one publication, some family descendants still live there today. And this was a beautiful article I came across, it was written in 1976, and it's entitled, "Discrimination Helped Shape a Geographically Split Neighborhood." I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but anyhow, that's what he said. However, just like so many neighborhoods in mainstream America, as older generations passed on, the next generation went off to college or maybe married and just never moved back home. So the community dynamics changed drastically. Houses were sold to property investors, and a lot of those property investors used the buildings for off-campus rental housing for college students. Thus, the sense of pride and ownership changed as renters moved into the neighborhood. Blacks were often afraid back then and even discouraged from becoming successful. If you owned property or owned a business or had any kind of success, you didn't want to flaunt it in fear of being punished in some manner. One such example was Mr. Leroy Johnson, a chauffeur for 29 years that lived on Upper Gulf Road. He was a proud man. He used to stand back in the street and admire his property. One time he invited his boss and his wife and the boss's wife to dinner. His boss commented to him about, this was a nice little modest home, and that's fine. But I was surprised that the bar was stocked with top shelf alcohol. So at the end of the evening, he fired him on the spot. People had to stay in their place. It is said that a man by the name of Drexel Paul, as I mentioned, was not eager to sell property directly to blacks. So Mrs. Windermere, once again, would purchase property in the neighborhood. There was another gentleman by the name of Isaiah Bird who helped show and sell cars for Chrysler and Plymouth dealership, and as a result, he was able to purchase cars at an affordable price for everyone. He was an entrepreneur way ahead of his time. He probably would have bought a franchise, but he wasn't able to do that. But he was the first person in the area to corner the market on trash hauling and selling fireplace wood. He ran the diner. He purchased many homes in Mount Pleasant and sold them to his sons and daughters to keep them in the community. He owned the neighborhood diner, as I said, but he also gave a lot of jobs to people in the area. Blacks were not permitted to rent apartments on the main line back then. And a Quaker lady by the name of Margaret Collins and Miss Hall were both advocates for housing discrimination. Now, I often tell people that I'm not a historian nor a teacher. One day, I was at a community associating meeting, and I had the pleasure of meeting Dr. Sharon Swarzy, she's here today, who was at this community meeting, and she was at that time the Dean of Philosophy Department here at Cabrini. She always took an interest in the people of Mount Pleasant, helping and teaching wherever she could. Dr. Swarzy solicited me to help with the project that would give students in the democracy and diversity class actual hands-on experience in a nice, somewhat diverse community such as Mount Pleasant. So I began lecturing her classes at the beginning of each semester, later bringing all 20 students into my home for a pancake breakfast and taking them on a tour of the neighborhood. I would introduce them to people along the way. Then each class would be assigned various projects for which they were graded. One class explored plans to make the neighborhood safer by providing sidewalks for our streets, but the streets were too narrow. Some wrote, and they did such beautiful things, like meet your neighbors, so that the college kids would get a feel for what's going on in the neighborhood and how they can be good neighbors. Others studied Maisie B. Hall, the teacher I was telling you about, and they did such good things to not just to get a grade, but they actually were generally interested in people in the neighborhood. There was a young man when he was graduating, he did a presentation and it included an aerial view of all 3 streets, and that was interesting. We had a few barbecues at the church and spaghetti dinners and invited the whole community to stay for a town hall meeting. We wanted to address some of the problems in the area, like Amazon trucks, which was being introduced up and down the street, and the college students speeding, that kind of thing. So we invited the Township Board of Supervisors and police from 2 of the townships. Some of the students weren't quite comfortable with it, but it was good information for them to know how to conduct themselves in this neighborhood. And then other students later on decided to do community work. They rebuilt a retaining wall, which ironically was damaged by college students. They raked leaves, they power washed, they painted fences, they tore down an old swing set. They often commented on how this neighborhood felt so nice because they had lived, whatever state it might have been that they came from, their neighborhoods, they didn't know the people. It wasn't that feeling where everybody waves to everybody and said, come on in, and that type thing. Professor Joe Simakowski, who took over later, would often supply the tools and the materials needed for them to do this work. Perhaps the most compelling assignment was the years that the classes met and interviewed long-term residents. I would ask 10 or 12 neighbors if the students could interview them and arrange for them to set up a meeting. 2 students would go into their homes and ask 2 or 3 specific questions about their personal experiences coming up in this area, video them, and present a transcript of the interview in class. And sometimes the students would bring a thank you gift for the people they were interviewing, and they were moved to compassion. The actual recording would then be archived in Cabrini's database and on a public site also at Cabrini, but where everybody can view, so that we could preserve the rich history of Mount Pleasant. The concept of racism has always been intertwined in the tapestry of our history, just like many towns. But we are blessed to live in such a beautiful area because many people across the world are not as fortunate. If you're not from this area, this is called the Main Line, and it was so named after the Main Line Public Works, which included the Pennsylvania Railroad, currently known as SEPTA. It covers from Philadelphia all the way up to Paoli, which is actually a hub now for Amtrak. Why am I giving you all this information? Just simply to give you the background on how people flock to this area because of the housing, the malls, and the universities. Some suburbanites moved back to the city because of the rich history, the arts, the museums, the boat rides, the clubs, the casinos. However, if you lived on the Main Line, you were considered to have arrived. Southeastern Pennsylvania is close to everything. We have a major highway, so it's a quick ride to the shore, the mountains, New York, Delaware, Maryland. It is home to Valley Forge Park, where President George Washington fought towards the end of the American Revolution in 1777. He camped here because it was a lot of access to key roads to get his supplies in. So what's not to like? You know, you have to like this area. Potential investors find it attractive. Realtors are constantly calling us and writing us now, trying to get people to sell their homes. If we collectively do not have the buying power to purchase a property directly from someone in the community, it's on the market, and it's a fair game at that point. Affordable housing on the main line: buy low, sell high, or rent the space. Everybody wants a piece of the pie. It's gentrification at its best, excuse me. Now, Mount Pleasant is nestled between a luxurious private golf club, sprawling green fairways on both sides of the street, but to which we do not belong. At the bottom of the hill, going north, is a beautiful private swim club to which we do not belong. We're a 7-minute drive from one of the country's largest and richest malls, the King of Prussia Mall. And here's a little known fact. A lot of people don't know this. The original parcel of land where the mall was started was deeded to a black woman. It was said that her slave master left her the property, but the deed was misfiled in Philadelphia. Perhaps the township lines weren't clearly defined back then. Some of you may remember the first section of the mall built back in the 60s. It was open. It was an open-air style with anchor stores such as J.C. Penney, the Acme, E.J. Corvettes, and Gimbels. Nonetheless, many years later, her great-great-granddaughter, a law student, discovered the error and made claim to the land she would have inherited. Her grandmother lived not far from here in a tiny house that sits off of Pew Road. She didn't live to receive the royalties from the mall built on her land that had mistakenly been purchased from the wrong owner. Now, we had heard stories about the granddaughter from people in the neighborhood who rode the train to Philadelphia with this young lady, but we weren't really sure if it was a rumor or not. But sure enough, about 25 years ago, the story surfaced. On the news, there was a big law firm that got involved. But soon it was swept under the rug, and it was no longer the news of the day. There are pockets of black populations in almost every town within the main line, and I'm sure they all have their own story to tell. Sometimes their communities are invisible too, and even other blacks may not be aware of their existence. Other times it's painfully clear that if you live in a well-to-do area, and we certainly do, but if you don't believe it, wait until your real estate or school taxes are due. Try finding a reasonable price summer camp around here. Change is inevitable, and most of the time the students are respectful that live in our neighborhood, and they are good neighbors. Most of the time the long-term residents still get along. But you know what the saddest thing is about changes? Even though it's inevitable, it's not that the college students are moving in. They're living off campus intentionally so that they can have fun without having any rules or regulations. It's not the landlords that purchase the rental properties. They have a right to profit from buying low and selling high, but they should, in my opinion, have to pay taxes to the neighbors and be held more accountable. It's not even that we're losing our land to investors that our ancestors worked so hard to get. It's actually the fact that we have to fight for every little thing. And the saddest thing is the reminder that we still have to fight, but it's for things that make common sense. For example, we went to the township and asked them to put a fence in the back of the park. Now it's a public park, and there's a dangerous 20-foot drop-off filled with fallen trees. Any little child, it's right next to the playground, any child could fall off. But we had to fight. They declined it. Dr. Swarzy and the attorney and everybody went up there, and we finally got it. But you know what? There's other parks that have running water, beautiful silver toilets. We have a porta potty. We got to fight. We're the only little town to have 4 massive water tanks owned by the water company. That's reserve tanks that hold 50 million gallons. And I guess that's a good thing, but God forbid if one of those low-lying flying airplanes would crash into them. They each hold 50 million gallons, and I dare say that would really wipe out all of Mount Pleasant. There is a sign that is needed at the top of Mount Pleasant Avenue because it says dead end. But there's actually a cul-de-sac where cars and trucks can turn around at the bottom of the street. So trash trucks sometimes back down the street and turn into driveways or back all the way down to collect the trash so they don't get stuck on a dead-end street. As you ride through this ever-changing neighborhood, you notice all the things that have gone on. And right now they're building single homes and townhouses at the bottom of the bottom of Henry Avenue and Fairview Avenue. They stick out because they don't conform to the neighborhood of other people that just have modest homes. It's going to present some traffic problems. I don't know if they factor that in. But that was once the home of Miss Maisie B. Hall. As Mount Pleasant's land is gathered up on our avenue on Mount Pleasant, there's vacant land that's been undeveloped for many years. That causes people don't, cut their grass or do anything, deer live in there and all kinds of things. But right next to one of these expensive homes is maybe a widow or a widower who can't replace their roof, can't get their basement, fixed or anything. So this once cohesive, self-sufficient community is now full of students who come for 6 months and leave. Old mattresses and broken furniture sit on the top of Henry Avenue and Mount Pleasant for weeks sometimes because the children have moved out and, nobody comes and picks it up. Some students have had parties, late night parties, and they throw beer bottles, 2:30 in the morning, car doors slam, headlights face your house as they turn around in your driveway. Now, again, not all the students are bad, and there's not a lot of Cabrini students there. It's mostly graduate students from another college. Some graduate students got really creative this year. There's several rental homes in a row. They attached a 20 to 30-foot blue tarp to the top of the roof of one, to the tree of the other, and then the same on the other side. They wanted some privacy, I guess. Several people complained, and the police did show up about an hour and a half later. So, yes, we are truly blessed to be in this area. We really are. Now we have people with PhDs and business owners, teachers, professors, property owners of several homes, professionals, etc. But I just think that we need to do more. We have to keep fighting. Equality is getting better, but we must keep fighting, never settling for what is rightfully ours, our God-given right to exist here and be successful in all of our endeavors, dreams, and goals. Deuteronomy 8 says, "But remember the Lord God, for it is he who gives you the ability to produce wealth, and so confirms his covenant, which he swore to our forefathers as it is today." Thank you.
Thank you so much, Barbara Bird from Mount Pleasant. Thank you. And now we're just going to have a few words from Kevin Stroman.
Good afternoon. Yes, as she said, my name is Kevin Stroman, and I want to thank God also, not only for us being here, for using me, number one, but most importantly, to really highlight what Juneteenth is about. I was here to talk about, and yes, I grew up in Mount Pleasant, so growing up in the 60s and 70s, we went through a whole lot. And yes, gentrification is going on, blah, 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 in black communities throughout this nation. But I'm here to talk about Cabrini. I was out in California. When I came home in 1994, God put it in my heart to start a youth group. Now, I didn't know about the youth group side. All I wanted to do was play basketball with the kids. Well, being from around here, I know all the colleges around here, and I went to every one. and there was only one person that opened these doors, and that's Coach John Zeke. That's my man. He opened up the doors. He said, Kevin, what do you need? And that's what started our relationship here at Cabrini and me coming here to Cabrini. We started bringing the kids here on Saturday mornings and playing basketball and just hanging out, you know what I mean? And then all of a sudden he found a way for us to start using some of the classrooms, so we started tutoring here. Now, what Barbara alluded to was the building called the Car School. The Car School is right at the top of Henry Avenue, but that's where we hold our tutoring programs. Our program, back then it was called Kids First Now. Right now it's called mainline mentoring because we find ourselves mentoring more to the the children that have gotten out of school that we've tutored and that we've done things for. And so through mainline mentoring, we hold tutoring programs there throughout the year. We're also working with Tredyffrin Easttown School District. Dr. Oscar Torres is here. Wave up, shave up, my brother. He is the director of equity and inclusion up at the TE School District. And through his, our partnership and his leadership, we've all just been doing so much. But I'm just happy to be back here on this campus to start working with my sister Layla here. And just want to thank Cabrini for opening up their doors to celebrate Juneteenth, to celebrate our communities, but most importantly, to celebrate our freedoms, which still are not here, which means I'm gonna make my plug. Please vote. In your home communities, you have to vote because that's where it starts. Everybody's looking at the president, they're looking at the senators, but the reality of it is you better check your people that are in the school boards. You know what I mean? These things aren't getting passed by other people. They're getting passed because we're not doing our job. Don't come out and celebrate Juneteenth and not celebrate your home, not celebrate your children, not celebrate who we are as a people. We are kings and queens. That means we don't bow down. Open your mouths and get out there and celebrate who we are as a people. And don't let the powers that be change who we are by not voting. That is critical. Now, I will say this is my last plug. July 15th, well, actually, back in 2002, with the help of the township supervisors, we named the park. If you ride up Upper Gulf Road and you see the four water towers, there's a park back there. It's called Maisie B. Hall Park in honor of Miss Maisie B. Hall. And every year, this is our 17th. We've probably been doing it, 25, Pam? Somewhere in there. But this is our 17th year having our community day. So on July 15th, this month from 12 to 5, feel free. I have flyers if anybody wants one. Feel free to come out and celebrate with us and just get to know the residents of Mount Pleasant because Pleasant is what's happening. All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Kevin Stroman. Thank you so much. I think a lot of people don't realize that African American people do live in this neighborhood. But as so much of the city is being taken over by gentrification, so is Mount Pleasant. So let's hold on to our neighborhoods. Next, we're going to hear from Meister Kamal. Kamal, where are you? And Kamal is going to be doing a capoeira demonstration with his team. Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. How you doing? All right, we got the mic active right now. So I wanted to thank Layla and the Cabrini community for having us out. My name is Mestre Kamau, and we're the Capoeira Angola Foundation. So we're going to play a little capoeira for everyone this afternoon. We, as a group, we came at different times. When I got here, I was listening to actually felt like a little bit of instruction on, some of our, just, I felt like I was in a classroom, receiving some beautiful information. And I started to think about how often when we're going through struggle and challenge in our different moments in life that we often feel like we're alone, right? So I'm hearing, stories of, we had one of our educators, our doctors over here, that spoke about her time at Cabrini, and she was challenging things. I remember challenging the same thing in high school, right? And I'm the only one in my class. I went to Central in Philly. Only one in my class telling the history teacher that the Emancipation Proclamation didn't free enslaved Africans. And, I pretty much got thrown out of my class, right? And then, but, it's not about that. It's really about, changing that moment of feeling like you're by yourself and you're really not, right? That was proven to me just now, when the doctor was speaking about her experiences here, it was before my experience, but, just remember that people are continuing the same fight. We're using the same energy, and we have it. We have what we need, right? Even when it just feels like it's only you by yourself or just a few of you. We represent here Capoeira Angola, which, is basically an expression, experience of our struggle across the diaspora, just one part of the African diaspora, obviously in the Americas. When we think about that time period for the abolishment of slavery here in the States, most countries outside the United States are roughly 20 to 25 years behind. So Brazil was actually the last country in the Western Hemisphere with a law in 1888. May 13th was an official day of emancipation, but just like July 4th, it's not recognized or celebrated in the African community or the diaspora community in Brazil. It would be a day like November 20th, which commemorates honoring Zumbi dos Palmares, right, a freedom fighter from the Palmares, right? So we have these similarities, these parallels, these exact, we walk in these universe, these communities, we're walking the same. Please, everybody, remember that on the moments when things are difficult. So we're going to share a little bit of capoeira, and actually, we always start the ritual of capoeira with a ladainha. Can everybody say that word, ladainha? So we use Brazilian Portuguese for the call and response for our capoeira music, which is a language that has several layers of indigenous influence and also influence from Central, Southern and Central African nations, and also West African being the last layer. But the ladainha that I'm going to share today actually talks about this deception, this thought of, someone giving you your freedom, someone giving you your emancipation. It's not so. It's never been so. You have to work. You have to earn. You have to create your own space. We already know that. So we want to go ahead with our capoeira that shares that idea. a liberdade verdadeira que já corria no quilombo, que já jogava capoeira. Yeah, yeah. Viva Zumbi! Oi, ai, ai, viva Palmares! Oi, ai, ai, viva meu Deus! Oi, ai, ai, viva meu mestre! Oi, ai, ai, quem me ensinou a jogar a capoeira? Oi, ai, ai, depois da hora. Ou então vamos embora. Ai, 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 jogue bonito, o povo quer ver. Ai, cheguei pra lhe ver. Ai, eu quero ver. Olha só pra bandida, o povo quer ver. Oi, ai, ai, já caiu já. Ai, quero ver você. Oi. Ai, quero ver você. Thank y'all. Appreciate it, everybody.
Thank you, Kamal. Meister Kamal, give him a round of applause. And so many of you, I know so many of you from all of the Philadelphia festivals. There's nothing like summertime in Philadelphia, where we get, starting with a Dune Day and all of the Juneteenth festivals and the festivals that go on throughout. And I know you've probably met Meister Kamal, so you can see him at a lot of places. And he's always filled with historical information and cultural information. So thank you so much, Kamal. Yes. So at this time, I am going to bring Angela Campbell back to the stage for a few words, and we're going to close after she speaks with the Foundation Singers. Thank you.
Thank you, Maestro Kamal and group. It was wonderful. What I want to share very briefly is how important it is to honor those who laid the foundation for the time that we're presently in. And I think it's very, very important to do so. And please note that the names that I'm going to call is not exhaustive. I would need another hour to list and name all of the people who have helped to retain the memory, the legacy, and the contributions of African descendant people on this campus, Cabrini University. There are a few who I hope are still here that I would like to recognize, in particular, those who served on the faculty. Is Dr. Maya Gordon and family here? Wonderful. Let's give Dr. Maya Gordon, please stand and be recognized. She was the first African-American woman to earn tenure and become an associate professor in psychology here at Cabrini University. There are a lot of firsts at Cabrini. She certainly holds a very prized and precious place in all of our hearts here at Cabrini University for many years. Dr. Gordon also created the Rose Club, and Rose was particularly for women of African descent, women and young women and professors and staff people, and she brought us together because she had a vision of the power of Black women, of women of color, coming together to remember our names, to remember our purpose, and to remember our presence on this campus. So let's give Dr. Maya Gordon a round of applause. I have a special pin for her that I will give to her after this. But we want to thank you for your brilliance, for Black excellence, reminding us of who we are, of whose we are, and the important role that we have to play for the upcoming generations, the generations that come after us. Thank you. Thank you. Another round of applause for Dr. Maya Gordon. Is Dr. Ron Whitaker here? Okay. Wanted to thank Dr. Ron Whitaker. He had a keynote that he had to give for another Juneteenth celebration, was not able to stay, but just wanted to honor him again as another first, earning tenure in the School of Education. The founder co-founder and co-director of the Center for Urban Education Equity and Improvement. We formed that center together, and he soared with bringing very dynamic, important African American speakers, activists, also Tim Wise, those who have helped to promote Black liberation in the field of education. He was the visionary for bringing that and keeping that going here at Cabrini University. So let's give Dr. Ron Whitaker a round of applause. Is Dr. Zakiya Gates here? Okay. So Dr. Zakiya Gates, a phenomenal professor in the School of Education. She's helped to keep, again, that memory alive. She has brought a robust theoretical concept around intersectionality for all of us to remember all the different intersections in our identities, and wanted to honor her. Also wanted to recognize another professor who was the first full-time professor, Dr. Darrell Mace, in the history department. He was the first to earn tenure in that department, and I think, period, at Cabrini University. And he's the first to become a full professor, Dr. Darrell Mace. He's not here, but he's with us in spirit. I want to give him a round of applause. We all know and love Dr. Shirley Dixon. She's no longer with us physically, but she is absolutely here with us in spirit. Dr. Shirley Dixon was the first to receive all 3 degrees, bachelor's, master's, and the first to receive the doctorate in education, all at Cabrini University. And for her spirit as one of our beloved ancestors, let's honor her. And again, I know there are others. We honor all of you and all that were not able to be here, but the few that were here, we wanted to honor. There are students that I wanted to give a shout out to. Is Keziah Landis still here? Is Keziah here? She was here earlier. Yes? Can you come forward, Keziah? She is, and her family also came. She is an alumna, class of 2022. Keziah is a multi-talented genius, artist, writer, editor. And Keziah created the mural that is in the Roymans building on the tour. Please stop by and see her artwork. I saw Malik, former president of the Black Student Union, wanted to give him a shout out. I also saw a few other students, part of the Black Student Union. Just wanted you all to be recognized, be honored, and to also understand your legacy, to carry that spirit of Black excellence, and to pass it onward. In terms of other closing remarks, I wanted to really thank so much the Office of DEI and Belonging, the Wilkington Center and Campus Ministry. I wanted to thank Ms. Layla Dunbar with a round of applause for her leadership over the Office of Diversity, Equity, Inclusion, and Belonging. She is committed to creating a world that works for everyone. That is her quote. And in this world, as a part of her vision, is to bring everyone to a presence around how the universal consciousness of love and peace and freedom can work through and in all of us. I thank all of you for coming to our 2nd annual Juneteenth celebration. I want to thank all of our vendors. I want to thank all of our speakers, Dr. Patricia Reed Merritt for that outstanding keynote. I want to thank the Dahimbi drummer and ensemble. I want to thank you. I want to thank our beautiful singers. Stand up, please, so we can see you're going to come up soon. Well, come on, stand up so we can applaud you as you give us our closeout songs. And to all of our vendors, all of our guests, everyone that brought books, there's also a table in the back of Consider It All Joy. There's some books there that can help you stay present in the spirit of joy. Several of the authors and co-authors are here. Antoinette Reeves, Barbara Purnell Boyle are the authors, and Gloria Mosley is also an author of that book. That's in the back. And for all of the vendors and the clothes and the jewelry and the bags and all of the ways that you have held the memory and the food, thank you so much for the great barbecue as well. All of these are the expressions of Black excellence, of our African heritage, and that persistence in freedom, and most of all, joy. Thank you so much for being here today.
Hasn't it been a beautiful day? We are so grateful to have been here. How many of you have ever heard of the Clara Ward Singers? This is a gospel song that was written by Clara Ward. It's called Packing Up. And one of the reasons why the Foundation Singers enjoy singing this is because there was a time when our ancestors would use signals and signs and weave them into gospel songs, where they would really be talking about heading north to freedom. And this is a song that makes us think about that.
I am on my way to New Jerusalem, where the sun will never go down. Every day I'm making preparations, getting ready to go, getting ready to go. I'm packing up, getting ready to go. I am on my way to New Jerusalem, where the sun will never go down. Every day I'm making preparations, getting ready to go, getting ready to go. I'm packing up, getting ready to go. Packing, packing, yes, I'm packing. Packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up. On my way back home, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up, packing up. Packing up on my way back home, home, home.
That sounds like a train ride to me.
Wow, so the moment has come. Before you leave, we got to get y'all up and dance. It's so wonderful to be here. Happy Juneteenth. The most peaceful, wonderful, blessed Juneteenth. It's your second. This is the second. Is more history being made. So we are Tai Himba. We stand as a nation. Thank you, Baba Jelani. And all of you. Thank you, ancestors, right? So we're going to do a dance called Lamban. Lamban, very old dance, comes from the griots, the griot dance. It comes from the Manding of West Africa, right? And so this is a dance of healing. This is a dance of celebration. It's a dance that we do for weddings. It's for many different occasions, but its root is one, to really honor the griots. It's the griots dance, the storytellers, the singers, the musicians, the teachers, right? And it's for healing. So we're gonna honor you with that. And remember, if you feel the beats, and especially at the end, you see people come on out and grab you, just reach on out, be ready to move, because you know we gotta take it out today like with a little fire, water and fire. A little water, right? Yes. Thank you so much. Hey, hey, Jalia, hey, alale, kajaliada. Hey, Jaliada, hey, alale, kajaliada. Ibulu bulu dolola, ibulu bulu dum dum dolola. Nyasumaya, ibulu bulu dolola, ibulu bulu jembe. Nyasumaya, yeah, Jalia, yeah, Jalia, you, yeah, Jalia, yeah, Jalia,
Give it up for the Chayembe African Dance and Drum Ensemble. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Another round of applause, please. Thank you so much. Thank you to Brother Jelani and Brother Zumbi and Brother John and the sisters that came out today and all the brothers. Thank you so much. Thank you for being with us as you were last year. This is their second year here with us, out of Temple University and a few other schools as well. So thank you, everyone, for coming out. Thank you to the vendors. Thank you for those people who came for information. Thank you to Barbecue Clubhouse. Thank you to Betty's Bounces. Thank you to all of the vendors, all of the supporters, all of the sponsors. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Thank you to my wonderful team, Ray Ward, Tony Reeves, and all of the people who worked with them. Thank you. I can't thank you enough. Thank you to my family and friends for coming out. To Kevin Stroman, to Barbara Bird. Thank you to the Mount Pleasant community. Thank you to our photographer, Anna Schmader and Emily Rowan. Thank you to the staff and the faculty of Cabrini University. For this and for so much more, my heart goes out to you, and I will see you tomorrow on Tuesday. Everyone, please check your email. I will be sending some information to you. And have a great day. Celebrate freedom. Happy Juneteenth. Ashe, ashe. Thank you.